Welcome back to Justice. A lot going on in Washington this week, despite some big distractions from the mainstream media and the liberal left. What a surprise. Joining me now, former GOP Congressman, Fox News contributor Allen West. Colonel West, thanks so much for being here tonight.
Good to be with you, Judge.
All right, I'm going to start with your other background, your Army background. USS Gerald Ford, commissioned today. It's a big deal, isn't it?
It's a huge deal. You know, it's going to hurt my heart to say this as a soldier, but the means by which a nation projects its power is through its maritime service and its maritime force. And it's very important for us to have this capability out there with the aircraft carrier that is able to, launch those aircraft that are supportive of our ground combat operations. And when you think about some of the things that have happened in the 8 years of the Obama administration, where we had gaps in our aircraft carrier coverage, especially in the Persian Gulf, this is very important. I'm sorry that it was over budget and over schedule, but the fact is that we need to get it out there for those sailors.
We need to, and I understand that the technological advances on this, the necessity for having fewer, something like 500 fewer people on the ship, and that they can carry more aircraft. It sounds incredible. So anyway. Yeah. All right, let's move on. I want to talk to you about what we had just been talking about with the panel, and that is the whole idea of the Republicans not supporting this president. And you know what? When we have the House, the Senate, and the White House, to me, it is very frustrating. And you were in Congress. I mean, how did they whip you into shape, or did they?
Well, one of the things that the Republican Party has to ask itself, what is it that they stand for? What are their fundamental principles? When you have people that are Republican senators that ran on the mantra of we're going to repeal and we're going to replace and we're going to give the American people a better health care system, but yet they're standing up to continue this expansion of Medicaid, first thing I would ask, how many of those Republican senators want to be on Medicaid themselves? So I think that what you have to have happen in the House and the Senate are a sit-down in those conferences to say, who are we, what do we stand for? And we've got this shot to get tax reform done, regulatory reform, health care reform, improve our national security, and the clock is ticking.
Well, don't you think they've already sat down and said, it behooves us to get rid of Obamacare because we look like a bunch of idiots, honestly, for having said for 7 years it's the worst thing that's ever come down the pike, and then they can't figure out something. I mean, who suffers? Are the ones like Senator Paul, Senator Cruz, Susan Collins, are they the ones who are going to suffer, or are people going to see them as a hero?
No, I think what people want to see is a true free market system that enables the American people to go out and purchase, quality health care for themselves, and for them to have those decisions that they can make for themselves, and not a government structure that is making it. The thing that when you look at what is happening right now, they could have easily gone back and passed the legislation they passed in 2015 that President Obama vetoed, and that could have been an easy starting point.
Exactly.
And so,
but you know what the truth is, Colonel? That the ones who voted for it are now against it. And I mean, and that's, that's up to the Republicans now to say, what are we going to do? Are we going to take them down based on their own hypocrisy? But I just want to go to one thing, Medicaid, very quickly. The Medicaid that we're talking about that seems to be the biggest issue is not that it's being increased, or is it being increased?
Well, the thing is that Medicaid was expanded. Medicaid is supposed to be a program that is for the people at or below the poverty level. But what the Patient Protection Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, did was just expanded it above and beyond that poverty level. And when you look at the budget of the federal government, the mandatory spending side, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, net interest of the debt, it's very feasible that that will take up the entire federal budget. So now is not the time that we should be looking at expanding a program that says we're putting more people under the conditions of poverty.
But we are continuing Medicaid for those people who are already on it, correct?
Absolutely.
All right,
Absolutely.
then we need to get that out. Okay, well, just before we go, what do you think of Anthony Scaramucci, the new White House communications director?
I think he was very strong in his appearance yesterday. But the most important thing is that this White House and this president has to be focused. They cannot continue to hear the dog whistle of squirrel and go chasing off, because that's exactly what the left wants them to do. They want to get them tied down with distractions, and they have to be very focused, very disciplined, and hopefully Mr. Scaramucci can bring that.
Well, it appears that based upon just that quick performance yesterday, he's going to be able to do that. I just think, and I think it'd be very interesting to see whether Reince Priebus stays, given the fact that there was a tremendous amount of resistance to Scaramucci. Anyway, Colonel Allen West, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
My pleasure, Judge.
All
Thank
right.
you.
And Rosie just can't stop being Rosie. Next, we're talking about the latest outrageous comment about President Trump from America's most infamous out-of-work actress.